What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on some comments that Stephen A. Smith made about Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? And basically, he's on the show, Ball in the Family. This their podcast, their new podcast, Ball in the Family. And so they asked him a question. This segment of their show is called Double Down or Back Down. And they asked him to respond to the question or the statement that he had made in the past that Giannis Antetokounmpo was an underachiever, right? And so I spoke on this before too, and what I want to do though is I want to listen to Stephen A. Smith's response, and then I want to come back and give my comments. But I thought it was some interesting points that Stephen A. Smith made.
What's one on here is calling Giannis an underachiever. You said that, Stephen A?
I'm doubling down.
Double it?
Let me explain.
You got to explain that one.
Please let me explain. I'm not questioning his greatness. And I meant it in no disrespectful ways. I mean, it's so hard. Sometimes, man, I wish I spoke Spanish, for crying out loud. I mean, it's like people having a hard time understanding me when I speak English. Giannis is so phenomenal because he won a title in 2021. If we're looking at Giannis 10 years from now and he still has just one title, what are we going to say?
But I don't think that's fair because where he was drafted, do you think that they thought when we got him, we getting a ring?
No.
I think he
because
exceeded that.
I think what you're missing is that I'm not talking about him and his individual greatness. I'm talking about what the team didn't do for him to position him to get more of what he deserved. He's so phenomenal.
He should have more.
He should have more. You should be able, if you're giving Giannis, it should be an easier task for you as an executive to put requisite pieces around him to make sure he has what he needs in order for you to be competing for championships.
I'm glad you said that.
You understand? Huh?
I think that's tough to do in Milwaukee.
Well, it is tough to do in Milwaukee, but you got to figure it out. You signed on for the damn job. Do it. You know.
And I agree with that. And I think part of what happened in Milwaukee is when you get when organizations get a franchise ball player, and they didn't used to do this back in the 80s and in the 90s. When organizations get franchise ball players, absolutely, they, like the Detroit Pistons built around Isaiah. Isaiah, he stayed there and they wound up getting 2 rings. Let me see. Chicago built around Mike. Boston built around Larry, right? But the difference between those guys and Giannis is a great player, but those guys never got involved in like the upper management portion of it. They never really got into like, all right, this player should be here, come on to the team. This coach, I can't play with this coach, so this coach gotta go. Those guys, they just did their job. They focused on playing and being the best player that they can be, and they stayed out of the front office part of it. Giannis has his brother on the team. Then Giannis had like there's talks about Giannis really had 3 different coaches. He won a championship with one. Then he didn't get along, got him out of there. Then what was the other guy? Then you had the guy Griffin, he was there. Then you have Doc Rivers who is there. All of that take away from Giannis's focus as a player. Like whoever the GM, the general manager is in Milwaukee, they should have been like, just let us do our job and put the pieces around you that that you need so you can be successful. And that's what all great teams do. And so if Giannis would have wound up with 2 rings or 3 rings, that's, he did his part as a player, then allow the front office to do their part. You don't, even Michael Jordan really didn't have no say. So like he couldn't bring on players, and he wasn't, he didn't worry about getting coaches and all these other people fired. His main focus was playing on the court. Giannis focused on so much other stuff that it took away from, and where you can't let the players be general managers. You got, they have to, they have they have to focus on playing. And so that in my opinion, that's what kind of hampered the Milwaukee Bucks. Now you have Giannis, people talking about Giannis he want out of that situation and he want to go somewhere else. When part of the situation is management there allowed Giannis to dictate to the front office who should come, who should coach, and all this other stuff. Michael Jordan wouldn't have been able to bring his brother to the Chicago Bulls. That guy Krause wasn't going for that. Michael Jordan they didn't even like Tony Kukoc when Tony Kukoc first got there. They didn't dig him. They gave him a hard way to go. So, but the guy Krause, look, this is a guy, he gonna play here, and that's it. It wasn't no question. But Giannis, kind of hampered front office, and it's their fault. They allow him to, because they wanted to keep him happy. They want to keep him happy, so they brought his brother in. And if he wasn't seeing eye to eye with a coach, then we'll bring another coach in. And then once you start switching out coaches, then now you it's basically you starting all over again. You're not, you have to rebuild the trust, the foundation. You got to rebuild the chemistry that the team have. Every coach want to establish his own chemistry. And so you did that at least 3 times while Giannis was there. And it was a lack of stability, because the general managers want to keep him happy, but you created, a lack of stability. And it's hard to be, to win when you got people like a revolving door of coaches. Tom Brady couldn't coach up in in New England because you had Bill Belichick. That's his job. Tom Brady ain't worried about that. He just whoever Bill Belichick put around Tom Brady just had to make that work, because that was Tom Brady. It's hard enough to be a quarterback, or it's hard enough to be a franchise ball player. I don't care if you're playing basketball, baseball, football, whatever you play. It's hard enough to be that player alone, and then you want to go into the front office and then try to say, well, bring my brother here, or I'm not getting along with this coach. And you don't let players do that, and that's what the downfall. That's why I agree with Stephen A. Smith, because I thought that once Giannis won that ring in 2021, I thought they was going to have at least 2 or 3, at least 2 more rings. I thought they were probably going to win about 2 or 3 rings. But, they win the ring, they get rid of the coach, and you starting all over. It's just, to me, it just didn't make any sense from a general manager standpoint. They should have had the type of relationship where as though they could tell Giannis, look, let us focus on putting the talent around you. You focus on, being the best ball player you can be. And then in that case, I would have to agree with Stephen A. Smith that Giannis underachieved. Now, it wasn't, it wasn't all Giannis' fault that he underachieved. I think you fault the organization for allowing a player to dictate to them how you run the organization, almost like allow him to be general manager, allow him to be the coach. And then, so now you got a coach who's coaching, who comes in, who knows that if you don't get along with Giannis, you're going to be out of there. So you don't have any authority. It's like Giannis is coaching, Giannis is the general manager. You don't have any authority. And so that's why, I agree with Stephen A. Smith that, yeah, Giannis underachieved, because had he just been focusing on his job and making his teammates better and getting better himself, then they probably would have had, probably 3 rings. And I think even once it's all said and done, when Giannis get to sit back and look at how things really work and how things operate, he'll probably come to that same conclusion. So I agree with Stephen A. Smith. But that's my take on it. Man, y'all make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.